Good afternoon, and welcome to Everybody, the podcast which shares stories that highlight people in life that make the world an interesting place, which ultimately ties us all together in unique and wonderful ways. And who am I, you might ask? I would be the head wrap socialite, wife, mom, micro influencer in the fashion and etiquette world. But on this podcast, I will be introducing you to some people who I've had the opportunity to meet along my journey, who have helped enrich me in my life in beautiful ways, and who I hope will do the same in yours. Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Everybody. Today's guest is Rico, whom I call Reek, Gruder, or just Cuz, because that's how we grew up. Neighborhood friends who became family. We've been adventurers in this thing called life, and we've made a lot of memories along the way. So I would like to welcome my cuz, Rico.
Hey, Trina. How are you, cuz?
Good, Reek. How are you doing?
Oh, fantastic. Doing really well. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Reek, could you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are?
My name is Rico. I'm a Gruder. I grew up in northern Pennsylvania, a little town called Crestmont, and I'm a 48-year-old father of four children. Been married for 15 years to my beautiful wife, Lisa.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Grew up in a small community. I was basically raised by the community, and my mother was a single parent.
Okay.
The youngest of three. I have an older brother and sister. I still actually reside in the area, not exactly in Crestmont, but pretty close to.
So it's like a walk, skip, and a jump away.
Pretty much, yep. And I always go back and visit the old neighborhood from time to time.
Has the old neighborhood changed?
Oh, absolutely. We grew up in low-income housing, and since then they've upgraded, and it's not quite low-income housing anymore. So much different than what we were used to, Trina, growing up.
Right. But when we were growing up, Reek, did we even consider that low-income housing?
Absolutely not. No, I mean, our childhood was everything. We had friends. We could go to anybody's house and eat. If we got out of line, we would have got a beating from the neighbors. You remember that?
Which we don't recommend anybody do, but that's how we grew up.
Right. And everybody looked out for everybody. Everybody knew everybody. Obviously there wasn't electronics and things like that back then. So we went to the parks. We played at Crestmont Park. We played in the creek. We went in the water and we swam at the pool. Rode bikes and just played basketball. Any sports we could do, track.
Right.
We did it all. I wouldn't change my childhood for anything. It was just so memorable.
Exactly. And I think that's the beauty of it, because even though, we came from circumstances which were probably or maybe not desirable or wouldn't be desirable for a lot of people, we made the best of it.
Absolutely.
We enjoyed the outdoors. We spent a lot of time outdoors. And the one thing that I will always, remember is, once the streetlights came on, you knew you had to head back home.
You better have your butt in the house when that light comes on.
Exactly. Otherwise, mom or grandparents would stand on the porch and just start calling your name until you came home. And then once you came home, if they had to stand and call your name, you knew you were in trouble.
Right. Yeah. And to this day, people kind of like, I see a lot of on social media, I see things where it's like a joke. It's like, once that street light comes on, but that was a real thing. That was your alarm.
Exactly.
You had to be home. And then if you did hear somebody, and I'll just bring up the name Gloria, Miss Gloria would yell, Mike, and you remember. If Mike was in that group, we all be like, yo, Mike, you in trouble, bro. You better get home.
Yeah, you better go home.
So it was an age-old thing, but you had to have your butt home. And that kind of made me feel like we did have some accountability. It wasn't like, even though we came up, a little less fortunate, it just made us feel like we were validated and our parents cared and they wanted us to be safe and get home safely.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
And even though we came from humble beginnings, what made you strive for something other than or how you grew up?
Well, as life went on, I realized that there were bigger and better things in the world. Even though my childhood was great and I wouldn't change a thing, you start going to school. We went to Abington High School, which is a prestigious high school known across the country. You start seeing people and they're like, yeah, we're going to Disney World, or we're going to the shore for the week. And I'm like, well, we're going to the creek. I don't know. We don't really take vacations and things like that. But you start to realize that there's a bigger world out there. There's more to pursue, and your eyes are open and you be a part of something bigger.
Exactly. It's one of those things to people out there who are listening too. It's knowledge is power, right?
Right.
Education is key. And the more you know, the better you will want to do.
Absolutely. Yep. So we saw those things and we wanted, some people wanted better, and other people just didn't know what they didn't know.
Yeah.
So they just were stuck in that cycle. As for me, like I said, a single parent home. My father was in the service, and my father and mother, split up, and so it was just my mom. So I was basically raised. My father was people around the neighborhood, the streets, basically. So I just try to get as much knowledge as I could from like people like your grandfather, your Uncle Ray, and your dad, and just as some examples.
Men that influenced you, the people of the neighborhood, and help you become the man that you are today. I will also say that the women in our neighborhood did the best that they could with the knowledge that they had. And it was our village that helped raise us. And even though they might not have had, they helped us to see that we were destined for something bigger than how they lived.
It's funny you say that. My mom had a saying. She says, she used to say, don't do what I do better than me. I never understood that. She used to say, don't be like me, be better than me. And to me, my mom was like a hero because everybody loved her. And this doesn't take away from any other great women in the neighborhood. But my mom was kind of a hero to me because she raised 3 kids. She wasn't educated. She had trouble with alcohol. Later in life, I found out she was abused by men. And so to me, for her to be as strong as she was, even though she had trials and tribulations, she would say, be better than me. Don't be like me. That stuck with me. So
your mom was an integral part to my upbringing, and I can remember going to your house on Saturday mornings and all the women sitting around in the kitchen getting ready to get their hair done for the weekend, and getting our hair pressed, and me watching, and you learn, you listen and you learn.
right.
There were lessons there that these women were imparting to us,
Right.
that we could use for something later, and we had no idea. Like,
Right. Exactly.
it's those little seeds of wisdom.
Right. And again, I didn't realize, and she died young. She died when she was 54, breast cancer. And, you don't really think about all those, sayings, if you will, and those lessons until they're gone. And you want those lessons. You want to hear them and you want to continue to learn. And she's no longer here. So you start to think back to what all the lessons she was teaching us.
Right.
And you try to pass those on, those gems. And when you start having your own children, you're like, man, now I understand what she meant. What the neighborhood meant when they gave us those lessons.
I thank you for sharing that part of your story, Reek. How did you navigate your life once your mom was no longer here?
Well, I was a little older. I was in my 20s, so I was a man, and I had already had my first son at age 20, and he got to meet her, and to this day he says, but he learned a lot from her. So it was good for me to see that he was able to spend time with her and learn from her. Again, she said, just take care of your business, whatever you need to do, whether it's job or life, relationships. She just said, just be the man you need to be for you, for yourself, for your family, for your son. That gave me the strength to just keep moving forward.
And I can honestly tell you, Reek, to watch you with your family and the experiences that you're able to provide for them along with your wife, Lisa. Reek, you are the man for your family and then some.
Thank
And
you.
I know that your mom is oh so proud of the man that you are.
Thank you. I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That brings me to a question. Do you see yourself in this world as a man of color?
Good. That's a touchy one.
Mm,
Well,
mm,
um, I'm obviously African American,
mm-hmm,
and it's tough. It's we're going back to we talked about going to school and going to a pristine high school
mm-hmm,
that was predominantly white, and most of the white people were they're well off, or you start to realize the things you don't have, and you realize that, well, wait a minute, I don't have new sneakers, I don't have new clothes, and things like that.
mm-hmm,
So you feel inferior,
mm-hmm,
and then comes the comments and one specific thing that happened. I
mm-hmm,
remember in elementary school, a white girl, she told me that I had lost a race in one of the track meets because I was black and I was stupid. It was touchy growing up. I mean, we know what the world was like then and how tough it was for minorities.
mm-hmm,
Uh, Fast forward to now, and there's still situations, there's still challenges, but yeah, it's a tough thing that a lot of people don't understand,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of people don't want to understand it, but
Right.
it's real, and I'm a realist.
Mm-hmm,
I'm actually married to a white woman, so and my kids
mm-hmm,
are all mixed children,
mm-hmm.
and I try to teach them to love no matter what color, no matter what race. I don't put labels on people.
Right. So I guess that brings me to a topic I know for a lot of us who are listening will either hit close to home, will kind of make us stop in our tracks to the night of October 9th,
Yep,
2020.
my daughter's birthday.
It was her ninth birthday, right?
That's correct. Yep.
And you get a call from your 27-year-old son who happened to be at the birthday party but decided to go to Wawa before heading home. He goes into the store and he happens to pass a white man, and your son is wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt.
Yep. So let me start by saying that again, I teach my son to be loving,
Mhm,
respectful, and
mhm,
caring of everybody, and he is also half white and half black.
mm,
So my son takes race very seriously because
mhm,
it really bothers him to live in a world that is so divided.
mhm,
Uh, and he's been through some situations in school. So he left my daughter's birthday party,
mhm,
and as you mentioned, he went into Wawa. He had his
mhm,
Black Lives Matter shirt on, which at the time he's grown, and I can't tell him to wear it or to not wear it or what to believe or
mhm,
what not to believe.
mhm,
So he chose to have that shirt on, which is completely fine with, he can believe what he wants or advocate for what he wants,
mhm,
So I didn't deter him from that. So he calls me minutes later and he says, Dad, I'm in Wawa and this guy's staring at me in a threatening manner. As we're on the phone, I hear all the commotion and I hear this guy like screaming at him, cursing at him and telling him F black people and F Black Lives Matter. And I got irate. I was just like, and what's
mhm,
going on? He said, Dad, this guy's following me out the store
mm,
and I'm gonna defend myself. So
mm,
naturally, as a father, he was only a few minutes away. I jumped in
mhm,
my truck and I flew there as fast as I could. As I'm coming around the corner, I see cop cars flying and I know where they're going. So
mm,
now I'm even more upset because I'm thinking this guy pulled out a gun and killed my son.
Reek.
So I'm emotionally like a wreck. So I pull up, I see my son's car. I see this guy standing by his truck screaming at my son, I'll
Mm,
kill you. I'll kill you. F black people, this, that, and the other. So, I'm on A. I'm
mm,
on 100.
yeah.
And I go over to my son, and the cops are like, "Wait a minute, what's going on? Who are you?" I said, "That's my son.
Yeah.
He called me. He told me he was being threatened, and I'm here to make sure he's okay."
Right.
Well, we need to find out what's going on. So my son explained to the police officers, and they took both sides of the story. There were some people that witnessed inside the store. They talked about getting camera footage, but there was really nothing going on inside until they got outside.
Right.
So my son was basically threatened. His life was threatened for a T-shirt. And this guy screaming back and forth, and and then finally him and I get into a little confrontation. And
it's a verbal altercation, right? Like
just verbal, yeah. And this guy screaming, F black people, and I'm trying to explain to him, like, my son is an advocate for peace, he's not wearing this shirt because he's a gang member.
Right.
All he's saying is that black people matter. This guy's going on, and finally the police stepped in, and they're just calling this guy an idiot. Like, dude, this is a grown man yelling at a kid, not really a kid, but a young man.
Yeah.
The guy had to be in his 50s, and I decided to go on live and just explain to people what had just happened.
I'm just going to jump in really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I happened to be on Facebook that night. When I tell you that I had to call Jay and sit with him, and we watched you, Reek, have to deal with this, the pain, the frustration that you experienced in that moment. My heart broke for you and your son.
I was so angry and so disappointed that we've come to, even in the 20th century, we've come here, and this is still what we have to deal with. It's just, I was so angry as a father, as a black man, just as a regular person, to be treated that way and to be labeled.
Over
his life was threatened. Just no understanding, no caring.
I think the world has gotten so polarized. Really look at the statement, Black Lives Matter. I think you said it so eloquently that night. It does not mean that I do not value your life, but I want you to see me as a black man and know that my life matters.
Right. And that could have gone really bad because they seen my son, and he's defending himself, and then this guy's yelling and screaming.
Right.
What if the cops thought my son had a gun or something, or thought he was the perpetrator or the aggressor? It could have gone bad for him just for going into a Wawa and minding his business.
Yep.
Just going about his daily life. He said, "Dad, I got to go home. I got work tomorrow." He's a law-abiding citizen. He's never been in trouble. He has a job. He has a car. One guy comes out and judges my son, doesn't know him from a can of paint, threatens his life, and now the police come. Knows what could have happened. Right. I try to teach my kids to stay out of situations, but what do? You can't live your life. You can't go into a Wawa. You can't wear a T-shirt that you want to wear. You can't advocate for peace, for good, for your people. And like any father, whether or not you're Black or white, Asian, Hispanic, Native American, any father, any mother, any parent, if their child is threatened, you would go there to make sure that your child is okay. And the love that you showed your child that night, honestly, Reek, I couldn't have said the things more eloquently that night in the heat of the passion that was that night than you did. Yep. I mean, you calmed him down, you talked him down, and you said to him, this man has nothing to lose. You have everything to lose. Exactly. When we grew up, our parents didn't play around when it came to our safety. Went down, you had your parents right there, and they said, no, we're going to fight for it no matter what it was, no matter what happened. We had that strength. And I think, I give credit to that upbringing. I give that credit to family and people. People don't realize how strong our upbringing was with family. And I just can't say it enough that made me who I am. My childhood made me that father that night that says, I'm going to protect my cub. I'm going to protect my son.
Right.
And so, as upset as I was, I just wanted my son to know that I got your back.
Always, Rick.
No matter what, I got your back. And it didn't matter. Like that was the reason that it happened. But if it had been a black man screaming at my son, it would have been the same thing.
Right.
Protect.
I thank you for sharing that story, because I know it can't be easy to relive that night, because it was painful. And afterwards, after the situation was diffused, and I would honestly like everybody to know that the cops who were on the scene that night, they helped diffuse the situation because they read the situation exactly how it was. And they called this guy to task on it, that he was out of pocket.
Right.
And I'm grateful and thankful, like that night, that those cops who were on the scene were the ones who showed up, who were open to looking at the situation, right? They saw the situation for what it was.
I just want to be clear to everybody listening that, cops get a bad rap. And, people think, oh, they're going to come up and the first thing they're going to do is look at the black person. Well, these cops did not do that. They assessed the situation.
Yep.
And they talked to this guy, and the guy was so unreasonable. And, they had to pretty basically say to him, like, dude, you sound like crazy. Like, you sound like a idiot, really. I'm just going to put it bluntly.
Yep.
And the guy had no conscience about it. He was stuck in his ways, and but I just wanted to be very clear and say that, cops get a bad rap. There are great cops out there. Absolutely. There are bad cops out there. But that night, they definitely diffused the situation. And when I went on live, I just wanted to, make awareness. This is what's happening. People don't really understand. Oh, that doesn't happen. People don't give, and it happens, and my son was a witness to it, to the whatever you want to call it. I don't know if the guy was prejudiced. I don't know if something happened where he, from the media, it said that Black Lives Matter was a hate group, and I had to tell the guy, I said, dude, his mom's white.
Right.
And he was stuck. He was like, I said, yeah, his mom's white. Right. So do you think he's got something against white people?
Right.
And the guy did. He was just, but still, didn't change his view on what was going on. I guess he was too far in, so he had to save face.
Right.
But again, just goes to show that there are good cops, and I just wanted to make awareness to that. Yeah.
Right. I hope that night that man went home and had some sort of revelation. What was I doing? Right. And the fact that you came there and protected your son, I hope in that he saw the outrageousness of who he was that night. Right. And by you and your son in that situation, not giving him the satisfaction that he wanted to get. Hopefully, he was able to take a look at himself, is trying to be a better person, really thought about his actions.
And oddly enough, years later, people are saying, I saw that video. It was so powerful.
Yeah.
What you did, how you handled it. Again, this guy, and there was, and I'll just be straight up with you. There was people that reached out to me and said, we can find out who this guy is and press charges.
Wow.
Or we can make this guy a public figure. I said, that wasn't the point of me doing that. Right. My point was just awareness. Like, this really happens in this small town, and it happens. It happens even here.
Right. And that goes back to the testament of the man that you are journeying, your inner self.
Yeah.
Like, you could have pressed charges, but you said, that's not who I am. And that's not why I did this. I wanted to bring the public aware that this does happen. And it is our responsibility as human beings to call this out when we see it.
Right.
That's why you did it. So, Rick, I'm going to ask you, in that moment, what did you learn about who you were?
So I feel like you never stop loving your children.
Mm-hmm.
You're always a protector.
Amen.
And I just learned that I had a different type of love that I was raised with.
Mm-hmm.
A stronger love, I should say. I shouldn't say a different type of love, but
Mm-hmm.
I wanted my children, and I still want my children to have more than what I had. The support that I had, the love, the backbone, the strength.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that the type of father that I am.
Rick, brings tears to my eyes because I can see you as this little boy running through the neighborhood, and now to talk to you as this man.
Yeah.
Just the wisdom that you have, the love that you can definitely feel, the passionate love for your family. I know your mom is so proud of you.
Yeah. And that's instilled in us, I think. That's something that was given to us. It's a gift that most people don't get, you know, that we have something in us that that you can't teach, you can't pay for. It's not an education.
Yep.
It's just a deep inner. It's a gift. I'll just call it a gift.
Yeah. And a beautiful gift you have, and a beautiful gift you are to the world, Rick.
It's a blessing that you and I are still connected, and you know I love you. I've always loved you like a sister, and I loved your grandmother and your mother and your aunt, Aunt Sonia, and Ray.
She's gonna get a kick out of that part.
And I'm so thankful that we're still connected, and we don't talk that often, but I always think about you, and I always see, I always see you on social media doing your thing, and I'm just so proud of you and
Thanks.
and Jay and the kids, and it's just, we did it. We made it,
Yeah. Tough love got us here. Love will continue to push us forward. I wish could reach through this phone now and just give you this big hug.
Yep.
And you always know that if you, Lisa, and the family ever need anything, we're always here for you.
Yep. Absolutely. And the same here.
That's family.
Again, I'd definitely like to be on. Maybe, the listeners have questions or.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm going to write a book. So I'm just letting you know I'm going to write a book because we got some stories.
Okay, I love it. Put the intention out there. Yeah. The one part of the book that you need to add, let me just say, I'm going to write your foreword to your book. With true friends, you can go far. The strong family, you can go even farther. And with laughter and love will bring you peace. So thank you so much, Rick, for spending time with me on this episode. And you're welcome here on this podcast anytime, any day. And thank you for sharing your voice with the world. I love you.
I love you, Trina. Thank you.
You're welcome. God bless you.
God bless you too.